What's up everyone, my name is Sam. Thanks so much for joining my YouTube yoga channel this morning or this afternoon or this evening. Today's Hatha yoga practice is a beginner's level flow focused on inspiring growth in the physical body, the intellectual body, the emotional body, and maybe the spiritual body. We're going to drop in extended child's pose. Feel free to bring a pillow or yoga blocks if you need those, and I'll meet you there. All right, so I'm dropping in extended child's pose, bringing the big toes into touch, knees about as wide as the mat, hips back toward the heels, hands walk forward, forehead comes down to the mat. And we're gonna start to drop in here for today's practice, which is themed around inspiring growth. So as you drop in and start to notice what's going on in the bodies today, you might think about the ways that you are seeking growth in the physical body, the intellectual body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. Just start to frame and align today's practice with those goals. As you're settling in here, you might start to find stillness. You can also rock the forehead gently left to right, just to stay connected to the sensations of the body. If you struggle to find stillness, I would encourage you to use today's practice of growth to challenge yourself to find that here as you drop in. If you're looking for a mantra for today's practice, or just affirmations to use throughout the practice, they might be: I am open-minded, I am creative, I am capable, I am hardworking, or other such affirmations. As you continue dropping in and noticing the breath, I also want to take this time to reflect on self-limiting beliefs as our biggest obstacles in growth. So just taking this time to prime the mind, to let go of those attachments, be curious in all the bodies. Orient yourself towards growth in today's practice. Physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. Take this time just to open your mind about what's possible from your practice. So start to create this little bubble of self-care on your mat. Practice connecting to the present moment. We'll stay here for a few more cycles of breath. Just start to challenge yourself toward growth based on whatever you need. So if focus or stillness are challenging for you, work on that today. Quieting the mind, staying present in the body. Maybe challenging the physical body a little more. Maybe challenging yourself to find deeper spiritual connection to your practice. Whatever calls to you. Come out of this pose. We're going to start by bringing our awareness to the fingertips, pressing all 10 fingertips into the mat to lift the forearms, lift the elbows and the forehead. And then we'll gently walk the hands up toward the body, coming to an upright kneeling position. We're going to bring the knees together. If this pose is really inaccessible for you, you can try putting a pillow between your hips and your heels. We are going to stretch through the ankles, so you have to skip that part. That's okay. You can also sit in a cross-legged seat if you need to skip this part. So coming into our upright position, let's right away check in with the posture, the spinal alignment, the breath. Looking for ways to improve, to be more connected. Grounding down through the earth, through the mat. We're going to start by stretching through the ankles. So I'm going to leave my right hand where it is on the top of my right thigh. My left fingertips will come to the front edge of the left knee, kind of wrapping them forward and around. And we're just going to lift that knee, flexing at the elbow, pressing into the top of the left foot through the left heel, letting the sensations of the body dictate that flexion in the elbow. So not forcing anything, staying present in what you feel and where. Staying nice and long through the torso, shoulders back, long through the neck, tucking the chin. Maybe pressing down through the right palm. Just connecting through the ankles, noticing what you feel. Good, we'll release on that side with control. And do the same thing on the second side. We'll bring the left palm to the top of the left thigh. Right fingertips come to the front edge of the right knee. We'll just press into that left palm, flex into the right elbow, pull that right knee up toward the chest, challenging your stability, challenging your spinal alignment, looking for opportunities to grow. Stay connected to the breath. Let's gently release that right knee to the mat. We're going to wring out the spine and some of that potential energy that's stored there by swimming that left hand around behind us, planting the left fingertips there. We'll bring the right hand to the outside edge of the left knee. And then just really pull that left shoulder back and open. Maybe looking over the left shoulder behind you. Twisting all the way through the cervical spine. Connecting deeply to the breath. Noticing how that changes the sensations of the body. Then we'll gently release, coming back through center. Enjoying that transition to the second side, bringing the left hand to the outside edge of the right knee. Right hand comes around behind us, pulling that right shoulder open and back this time, looking over the right shoulder. Just keeping that right knee pressed down toward the floor, stable through the hips and spine. Wringing out those toxins and releasing potential energy. Let's take another nice deep inhale, pull that right shoulder back. And on your exhale, we'll slowly come back through center. So I'm going to take a second from this position, and if this is too much on your knees, feel free to switch seated positions. I'm just going to find some gentle movement through the head and neck by drawing circles or half circles with the nose, just moving mindfully, noticing what I feel and where. Waking up a little bit more through the cervical spine, through the traps and the rhomboids. Preparing the body for movement. Preparing the mind for the other components of your practice. So feel free to explore. Remember, this is your practice. Make it your own. Be curious in your body. Listen to the information that it's sending you. Observe without attachment or without getting overwhelmed. When you feel good about that, and take your time there, spend as much time there as you want. We're going to do a little self-massage through the traps and neck just by bringing both palms together, starting with that left shoulder, left trap, which is this muscle that's kind of behind the neck, beginning on the left and the right and meeting in the middle. Or anywhere that you feel tension, just give yourself a little massage through those points. Just again, kind of taking inventory, noticing what's going on in the bodies, receiving that information without getting overwhelmed. Good. Take your time there. Feel free to take it to the second side when you're ready. Checking in, same thing. Noticing what you feel and where. Maybe just enjoying the heat, the warmth of your hands on your neck, on your traps. Reminding the body it's okay to relax. And you are in control of this practice today. When you feel good there, maybe check in one more time with those circles or half circles. Limbering up through the neck. And when you're ready, we'll roll forward onto all fours. Coming first into that neutral tabletop position, palms under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Extended through the toes, you're just on the tops of your feet. Pressing into the palms, we'll start with a little cat-cow. So connect with your breath, your natural breathing rhythm. On your inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, shoulders back, tailbone toward the ceiling. On your exhale, pressing into the palms. Low ribs come inward to meet the spine, arching up toward the ceiling, pressing into the tops of the feet. And sync up with your own breath. Just checking in, the full range of motion through the spine. Through the frontal plane. Now, if you want to add more, feel free to add those barrel rotations, drawing circles with the ribs, touching the inside edges of an invisible tube. You might reverse your circles. Feel free to explore, bending into the elbows, just checking in with the body. We're also going to, beginning from this neutral tabletop position, draw big circles with the hips, beginning by sending them toward the right side of the mat, then back toward the heels, toward the left side of the mat, and forward. Just again, checking in, noticing what you feel, what you hear maybe, and your reaction to those sensations. Reverse those circles when you're ready. Maybe syncing up with the breath, maybe slowing it way down. Just noticing what's going on with you today. When you feel good about that, we'll meet back in that neutral tabletop position. Neutral spine, palms under the shoulders, knees under the hips. And we're just gonna draw some circles beginning with the left knee. So sink your weight into that right knee, right shin, right foot. Let's lift that left knee off the ground, and we'll just start drawing circles with that knee, bringing the knee forward toward the elbow, and then back. Just kind of lubricating that joint a little more with synovial fluid. Checking in with this range. Maybe reversing those circles. Opening up through the hip, looking for opportunities to grow in your practice, in your physical body, whatever that means to you. When you feel good about it, we'll take that over to the second side by dropping that left knee, left shin down to the mat. Sink your weight into that side, lift that right knee, and start rotating through that hip, drawing big circles with the right knee. Bringing that knee up toward the ceiling and then toward that right elbow. Noticing what you feel and where. Just exploring that full range of motion, being curious in the body, and maybe reversing those circles. Take your time here. Feel free to explore. When you are ready to, you can release that right knee back to the floor. We're going to move into a downward dog from here. So you know what to do. Curl the toes under. Press into the feet, extend through the knees, hips up toward the ceiling. Palms rotated slightly away from each other. Just checking in your first downward dog of the day. Let's take our time here since it is the first one, noticing where you're at, bending into the knees if you need to, especially if you're tight through the hamstrings this morning. You might pedal through the feet. And challenge your body in this way. You might also just come to stillness and challenge your mind in that way. It's your practice, make it your own. Noticing what you feel and where, connecting to the breath. Let's sink our weight into that left foot and lift the right leg up toward the sky. We'll bend into that right knee, pull that right knee up toward the ceiling, and then leading with that right knee, right foot, we'll bring it all the way up and through, planting the sole of the right foot between the palms. So from here, we're going to rotate on that back foot, press into the outside edge of that back foot, find stability in your foundation here. Try to keep that 90-degree-ish bend in this right knee as we hinge at the hips. Open up the arms parallel to the mat, to the earth. Pulling that right knee open, not letting it sink or fold inward. Fixing your gaze beyond those right fingertips, really reaching, feeling long through your wingspan. Sinking deeply into that right knee, maybe challenging yourself to grow physically, grow your strength here, grow your balance, grow your focus. Sit down deep into that. Challenge the mind and body to stay here. And then when you're ready, we'll extend through that right knee. Sit back into that left hip, sinking your weight back there. Let's hinge at the hips one more time. Let those right fingertips pull forward and come to the inside or outside edge of that right ankle. If you need to use a block here, you can definitely do that too. Left fingertips coming up toward the ceiling. Maybe look up toward the ceiling. Notice what you feel and where. Challenge yourself in this pose. Find stillness. Get really long. Take up space. And then we'll cycle that left hand back and down toward that right foot. We'll frame that right foot, pivot on the back foot, and then we're going to vinyasa. So we'll send this right foot back for plank. You might hold there for a second, depending on what you need, or slowly lower to the belly or to upward facing dog, whatever's in your practice. Pressing up for cobra or upward dog. Noticing what you feel. Releasing that back down to the floor, pressing up for plank when you're ready, curling those toes under, full extension through the elbows, nice and long, through the spine, through the body, taking up space, and then sending the hips up high toward the ceiling, coming back into your downward dog. Take a moment here just to shake out the head and neck, maybe pedal through the feet, whatever you need. Checking in, noticing what you feel and where. And then we'll do the same thing on the second side by sinking the weight into that right foot. Let's send the left foot up toward the ceiling for three-legged dog, really reaching, bending into that left knee. Pull that left knee up toward the ceiling. Right heel comes toward the right shoulder. And then leading with that left knee, left foot. We'll bring that left foot all the way up and through. Framing it with both hands. Let's angle that back foot. So you're pressing into the outside edge of that right foot. It's angled slightly toward the right side of the mat. We'll keep that generous bend in the left knee, hinge at the hips, lead with the fingertips, really opening up, parallel arms to the mat, taking up space. Looking beyond those left fingertips this time. Challenging your strength in the left leg, left quads. Maybe sinking a little deeper. Maybe quieting the mind a little more. Cultivating focus, patience, or personal growth of any kind. When you're ready, we'll extend through that left knee. We're going to sink back into that right hip this time, really getting grounded through your foundation, pressing into all 10 toes and both feet. And then we're going to hinge at the hips again, letting those left fingertips pull forward and then down to the inside or outside edge of that left ankle. Right fingertips come up toward the ceiling, and maybe your gaze does too. Challenging your balance. Challenging your mental discipline and the body. Let's cycle that right hand back down toward the back edge of the mat and then all the way around to frame that left foot. We'll pivot on the right foot, send that left foot back for plank. Same thing here, find your plank pose, challenge your balance, challenge your strength. Nice and long through the spine. Really extending, taking up space, and then slowly lowering to the belly or upward facing dog. Pressing up for cobra or up dog. Melting it back down. And press up for plank. And back to downward dog. So take your time in this downward dog. Enjoy the transitions. Looking for opportunities to grow even here, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Reconnecting with the breath. Maybe repeating your mantra or your affirmations. I'm hardworking, I'm open-minded, I'm capable, I'm creative, whatever the case may be. All right, we're gonna plant that left foot in the middle one more time. Three-legged dog on the right, sending those right toes up toward the ceiling, getting long, really reaching. Bend into that right knee, right heel drops toward the left shoulder, pull that right knee open and toward the ceiling. And then same thing, right knee, right foot, come all the way up and through. We're gonna come back into that warrior two. So take your time setting up here, look for opportunities to grow and improve. Start by planting that left foot, toes are slightly pointed to the left. Right toes are pointing forward, generous bend in that right knee. We'll hinge at the hips, leading with the fingertips, opening up the arms, staying nice and low, arms parallel to the mat. So check in here, look at your foundation, see what's happening, see what's going on, see what you need to adjust, if anything, and then settle in and quiet the mind. We're going to come into an extended side angle from here. So you can start just by bringing that right knee to the top, that right elbow to the top of the right knee. We'll cycle that left hand all the way around until it's in line with that left leg, really reaching beyond that bottom edge of your mat, top edge of your mat. And again, maybe lifting the gaze toward the ceiling here, plugging that left shoulder in, not letting the shoulder scrunch up near your ear. Generous bend in that right knee, staying nice and strong through your foundation, getting as long as possible, really reaching. All right, when you're ready, we'll cycle that left hand back up and over, bringing it all the way back down to frame that left foot. And then we're gonna switch sides with this. Catching my breath. So all we're gonna do here is walk with the hands this time from framing that right foot over to framing the left foot. So you changed orientation completely. Set up your feet for that warrior two on the second side this time. Get stable in your foundation, get strong there, make sure you're good with your foot placement. We'll hinge at the hips, lead with the right fingertips, open up for that big warrior two on the second side. Nice and low, generous bend in that left knee. Get comfortable there, get confident there. Find your balance, find your strength. Pull that left knee open. We'll bring that left elbow to the top of the left knee, cycling that right arm all the way up, creating that nice long line from your right fingertips all the way down through the right heel, getting really low in that left knee. Find your balance, and we're going to do this one more time. Cycling that right hand back down to frame that left foot. Let's pivot on the right foot, send that left foot back for plank. Find your plank, do what you need to do there. Slowly lower to the belly or to upward dog if it's in your practice. Pressing up for cobra or upward dog. Melting it back down. Press up for plank. Hips up high for downward dog. And same thing here. We're going to plant that left foot, bring that right foot up toward the ceiling, three-legged dog. Bending into that right knee, pulling that right knee up toward the ceiling. Let's guide that right knee, right foot all the way up and through. Framing it with both hands. We'll pivot on that back left foot and open up once again for warrior two on this side. Getting nice and low, finding that strong foundation, challenging the body and the mind. We'll bring that right elbow to the top of the right knee this time, sinking lower into that right knee. And cycle the left fingertips all the way up and over through the top edge of your mat, creating that really long line of energy, taking up space. Feeling that expansion. All right, we're going to cycle that left hand back down toward the floor. We'll walk through the hands back over to that second side. We're going to turn to frame the left foot, left toes, pivot on that back, right foot. Generous bend in the left knee, leading with the fingertips, opening up for warrior two on that second side. Take your time here, get low. When you feel confident, when you feel good about it, left elbow to left knee, right fingertips all the way up and over, really reaching. Good, taking up space. I'm actually going to turn to face you because I did this in the opposite order. But from that pose, we're then going to come into, bring your hands to the floor and come into a wide-legged forward fold. So toes facing that long edge of the mat now. Walk your hands toward the middle. And we've done this a couple times recently, so make this practice your own. Do what you want to do here. I'm going to first start by getting long through the torso with my hands on my waist. Just challenging that decompression of the spine and those long lines of energy rooted down through the feet, the toes, the heels. Nice and long through the torso. If you need blocks here, feel free to incorporate those. I'm going to bring my hands down to the floor, staying long, decompressed through the spine. I'm going to walk my hands over to that left foot, framing that left foot, checking in there, noticing what I feel and where. And I'm going to do the same thing on the right, but feel free to explore in this pose in any way that you need. So take your time, be curious, look for ways to challenge your growth in your practice, in your body, whatever the case may be. I'm actually going to widen my feet because I feel like it's time to challenge myself in this way. You might challenge yourself to come down to the forearms or use your blocks to come down to the forearms. Play around and be curious in your practice. All right, when you're ready, I'm going to plant the left palm under my chest and just drag the right fingertips along that left arm and up toward the ceiling. Another little spinal twist, taking up as much space as possible, noticing what I feel and where, cycling that right hand back down, replacing the left. Drag the left fingertips along the right arm and up toward the ceiling. Same thing on this side. Notice what's different, if anything. Take up space. And let's do that one more time. Cycle the left hand down to replace the right. We'll bring the right fingertips along the left arm, across the chest and up toward the ceiling. Just noticing. Replacing that left hand with the right, same thing again on the left side. Bringing the left hand up toward the ceiling and eventually releasing it back down to the floor. From here, we're going to come to an all fours position. And then we're just going to come up onto the knees to practice gate pose. So we've done this once or twice before, but it's not a regular part of the practice in this class. So I just want to go through it slowly and build the fundamentals for it. You can incorporate it into your practice. So we're going to start transitioning from on the knees. There are a couple ways to do this. So to do that, I want to extend my left leg first, away from the body to the left. So if you need to bring your right hand to the floor to do that, feel free to do that. However you need to move for today's practice, feel free to do that. So once again, this left leg is in that kind of wide-legged forward fold stance. What we're going to do is lift the left toes up toward the ceiling, slightly externally rotating this left hip. So once you're there, take your time there. If this is very wobbly, you might just stay here today or move into a less challenging version of this pose. So with your toes rotated up toward the ceiling, I'm going to let my left fingertips slide down the left thigh toward the left toes and let my right hand come up naturally toward the ceiling, all the way up and overhead. Once again, really reaching, pressing into that right hip, staying long through the right arm, right shoulder, not letting the shoulder come up toward the ear, long through the neck, maybe lifting the gaze. And your right knee still bent at 90 degrees, right foot still behind you. This is your gate pose. Cool, so take your time here. We're going to try to enjoy the transition, move mindfully. Lead with the right fingertips to come back up through center, finding your balance. And we'll do the same thing on the second side. So you can bend into that left knee, come back to that kneeling position. If you need to lean left or put your hand on something here to extend through that right leg, do so. So you're still on your left knee, left foot is behind you. Right leg is extended like we were in that wide-legged forward fold. From here, we will slightly externally rotate that right hip, bringing the right toes up toward the ceiling. Left hip stays where it is, nice and square through the torso. Maybe hands on your hips to start, or just through the whole pose. Wherever you are is fine. So once you've got this down, we'll release that right hand to the top of the right thigh if it's part of your practice today. If not, stay where you are. As we guide those right fingertips down toward the right toes, let's let that left hand come up toward the ceiling, cycling it all the way up and over, creating this nice gate pose shape. Noticing what you feel and where, creating these long lines of energy through the left fingertips all the way down, through the body into the mat. Good, take your time here. And when you're ready, we'll gently lead with that left hand to come back up through center. Find your balance. You're using that left hand kind of like a cat uses its tail to come back up. So just balancing through the torso. So we have a couple minutes here, so you can again experiment on that first side, maybe coming back up onto the knees to take a break or sitting down between iterations. And then when you're ready, feel free to play around again, extending through one leg or the other, building that gate pose on one side or the other. So I'm extended through my left leg, toes coming up toward the ceiling, letting the left fingertips slide down toward the toes, right hand come up toward the sky, and then reaching up and over those left toes, noticing what you feel and where, pulling that right shoulder up and open, maybe lifting the gaze, connecting with the breath, and then using those right fingertips to guide you back through center. One more time on the right when you're ready, extending through that right leg, maybe hands on the hips for starters, right toes coming up toward the ceiling, right fingertips come down toward the right toes, left hand comes up and over. Noticing what you feel and where, without judgment or attachment. Reconnecting with the breath, and maybe repeating your mantra or your affirmations. I am capable, I am creative, I am open-minded, I am hardworking, or whatever the case may be. When you feel great about it, lead with those left fingertips coming back up through center. And we're just going to move down to the mat for a seated forward fold. If you know that's inaccessible for you, We'll do the bent knee version of that pose, and we're just gonna rest here for a while, letting the muscles relax and the connective tissues elongate. So when you're ready, whatever version you're in, we'll send the hands up and overhead, hinging at the hips, then either bringing your hands beyond the feet to fold forward, or bending at the elbows, wrapping your arms around the knees, around the thighs. Whatever works for you today. Take this time to turn inward, winding down today's practice, maybe reflecting on the challenge of growth and letting go of self-limiting beliefs. Finding ways to inspire growth by challenging your discipline, challenging your focus. Connecting more deeply with the body and the mind. Reconnect with the breath if you've lost that. Just take these final moments in this pose to challenge yourself in whatever ways you need. So again, maybe challenging yourself to find stillness, to stay till the end, to not let your mind wander, to not have an emotional reaction to the pose, or to understand those things more deeply and move through them. Take as long as you'd like in this pose. If it feels good, stay there as long as you need. We're going to transition from here to Shavasana. So if there's any other movement that you need in between these two poses, feel free to take that now. I'm going to transition into Shavasana by slowly curling up through the spine and then challenging my balance, core strength by lowering to the mat as slow as possible. Feel free to grab a pillow if you want one. Feel free to also take another final resting pose if it feels right for you. For Shavasana though, I'm going to let the feet fall apart, legs are fully extended, opening up the palms toward the ceiling, relaxing through the torso. Feel free to close your eyes if it feels good, as always. Allow yourself these last quiet moments to absorb the nutrients of your practice in the physical body, the intellectual body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body, whatever those things mean to you. Let's also take these last few quiet moments just to enjoy this space you've created for yourself. You might repeat your mantra or your affirmations now. Maybe just quiet the mind, let your cork float. Enjoy stillness. Let go of what you don't need. Before we close today's practice, I want to recognize that I am instructing this practice from former Monongahela and Osage territories. I encourage you to find out whose indigenous lands you're on and how you can support their ongoing struggles for liberation. I'm going to bring my palms together to rest gently at the third eye. Feel free to do so if it feels right for you. We also want to recognize that yoga is an ancient spiritual practice coming from the subcontinent of India and Indian culture. So we recognize and honor that cultural heritage without appropriation. We also recognize that yoga functions in many ways for many people of the world, including as a community. I thank you so much for being part of my community today. I hope you got something you needed here today, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.